Welcome everybody to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Lorenzo Fawn here, also with
Kevin Horde over here. How's
Hello.
everybody doing?
Yeah, we're doing good. So we're going to continue our talk on the Clone Wars feature. We're getting to section 2 here. This segment of the movie was titled Castle of Deception if they were still broken up to episodes. We didn't really talk about this last time, about how we talked about how they were clearly separate episodes. But in terms of like these episode titles and such, this is information we had to find outside. The movie makes no mention of these separate little titles, such as Castle of Deception, or the last one was the New Padawan.
Right. So these actually, like, each of these all have their own production code. They all technically have their own group of people that worked on them, as far as like the credits for who did what would be separate on each of these, which actually leads me to something that I wanted to ask you about, Lorenzo. You had sent me some information with directorial information. So each of these 4 episodes had a separate director, correct?
Yes.
And in the theater thematic release, it's just credited to Dave Filoni as director. So yes. I was going to ask you, is that directorial information something that was theoretical? Like, they would have been directed by said people, or or did they do direction on pre-production and probably part of the production of these things, and then Dave Filoni got the credit?
Actually, no, because once you consider something one singular entity, direction credits become very tricky.
Right. Especially
in a Directors Guild of America world.
Right.
I don't know how aware you are, but things, there are very certain rules on who can get directorial credit. So,
right, and I am aware of that. It was kind of my understanding that I know George Lucas is not in DGA, right? Because of an issue with the second Star Wars movie, Empire Strikes Back, right?
Actually, no. It starts with the reason George Lucas is director of A New Hope but not Empire Strikes Back is because there was this really weird rule back in late 70s. Mm-hmm. So, the movie releases in 77. I don't know if the problem started right at that moment and he just released the movie without said requirement.
It had to do with opening credits, which he refused to do.
Yeah, he just wanted to go straight into the big title card,
right,
and then the crawl. Yeah.
Right.
So there was the requirement for opening credits. He said no, and then had to resign from DGA for it,
Okay, so he was in DGA and then he resigned.
Yes.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Recalling from memory, that's my understanding.
So
there are still other random requirements. Mm-hmm. Opening credits clearly is no longer one. Like, I think honestly he is back in the DGA.
I thought he never was, but like the prequels were essentially and they've been called like the most expensive independent movies ever because they were financed by him, so he doesn't need to abide by said rules because he's making his own fucking movie with his own fucking money and he can do what he wants. But the reason I asked is because you had sent me some info that said that like Dave Filoni is credited as the director of the Clone Wars movie in general, but he was in that snippet of information. Castle of Deception, which is what we're talking about today, had a production code of 101, which means that it would have been season 1, episode 1 of this new animated series. The director is Dave Filoni. Now, the other 3 sections of the Clone Wars movie had different production codes. The one that we just talked about last week, the new Padawan, was like 118. So that would have, if production code and release date and all that shit panned out, it was essentially the 18th story of the first season that they worked on, even though it became the first section of the movie. But that had a different director name attached to it in that information that you had given to me. So that's what I'm asking. How does that work?
Once it becomes a singular unit, the only director that can be credited on a movie is the one who did the most work, if there are multiple hands that got thrown into that.
Now, can they be like second unit directors or something like that?
So second unit director is its own thing because it's a different credit essentially.
Right.
It's a different credit. So you can do second unit, third unit. You have to show that that there was a second unit that did that. So part of it, there are only various exceptions, like a Twilight Zone movie has 4 segments, but those segments are titled and they are very obvious. So Twilight Zone movie has 4 separate directors because there are 4 separate segments and they are all titled. Each director handled their own segment. The 4 directors were not involved in any of the other segments.
Yeah,
right?
There was that movie. It was called 4 Rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And same scenario, right?
Yeah,
gotcha.
So
okay,
So DGA will allow it if there are different segments that are each being handled separately. So even a movie like Cloud Atlas, I don't know if you've seen it. It has like six stories that are intertwining, but because the Wachowski siblings handled 3 specific stories, and then Tom, I never pronounce his name correctly, Tom Twickver or something like that, handles 3 other segments, even though the segments are intertwining and they're never completely like labeled. The segments are still really obvious. They were able to go to the DGA and like, look, these segments, nobody's mistaking one segment for another segment, even though they are all mixed up in a single bag, right? Clone Wars is being released as one single movie, not 4 separate units.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
so that
I totally get it.
Yeah. So that's kind of where then Dave Filoni is the one that steps in, right? So like then
right, because he's like
supervising
director on everything anyway. And
exactly.
He's like
fucking. If he's not, even if he's not hands on, he's the one there.
Whatever.
Yeah. So just to kind of close out this with something very current, as we're recording this in late February right now, early March-ish, there's this issue with Solo, the movie. Right?
Yep.
So, what's their names? They're gone from my head right now. The directors of 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street. Yeah. They were handling it, and then they got fired. Ron Howard steps in, So now there's this issue of as we know of right now,
like directorial ownership.
Yeah, it sounds like the way they're gonna try and figure it out is Ron Howard will probably end up getting credit for it, right? So this happens all the time too, where Justice League that just came out, right? Like Zack Snyder is the one that's, as of right now, is credited on it. Mm-hmm. He shot the bulk of it, but there are rumors, and I'm just a guy surfing the internet, so I don't have any inside in intel or anything like that, but that Joss Whedon might have done a large amount of reshoots, right?
Yeah, I mean that was definitely the information that was floating around out there.
Yeah,
and depending on what source you're getting your information from, it was 7% to 70%. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So nonetheless, Zack Snyder is the one that ended up with credit still. It's part of it's like political play. Like he was the one hired by Warner Brothers. They're just closing that out, and it looks good for Warner Brothers. Right. It would look worse for them to say that, like, oh, things went wrong, and even though Zack Snyder was involved the entire time, it's actually a Joss Whedon movie. Like, wait, what? Like, so.
Right. That's kind of fucked. The two directors that you were talking about for Solo are Phil Lord and Christopher Miller.
Chris Miller, yep.
By the way.
That's right.
So
yeah, yep. It was somewhere in my brain bank, but it just was falling out of there. They also directed a Lego movie, so
which is fucking awesome.
Which is amazing. So anyway, yeah, we can't get into such discussions on this. We'll
snowball
podcast
and just
or something. Yeah,
talk about that forever.
But anyway, so picking up with this episode specifically, or this segment, so again, we're still referring to Clone Wars as one singular movie, but we're breaking this up into segments because it's kind of obvious that they are segments. To me, especially this first transition too. Like, so the last one ends with Christophsis being fucking not blown to smithereens by chance, apparently, because everybody's fucking retarded.
And we actually finally leave Christophsis.
Yes, yeah.
Finally.
So then we finally loop back after some 28 minutes to the initial issue that was brought up, in that Jabba the Hutt's son has been kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to go get him and bring him back to Jabba, because for whatever reason they decided that was the job they wanted to take on. So 28 minutes later, we finally get to this part of the story. There is a wipe, and they leave the planet. And if this was one singular movie, it just wouldn't make sense. Like, the ending of segment 1 leading into segment 2 is so abrupt to me. Again, I think I'm jumping ahead.
This was
just diving into it. But.
Yeah, this was like the easiest one, the easiest divide to kind of definitively figure out, because it literally ends with the last episode, The New Padawan, ended with Anakin and Ahsoka leaving one planet. There's a wipe. We are on another planet.
Yep.
Different things are happening.
Like, even the look has changed. Like,
yep.
It went from like a sunny planet of Christophsis to, like, we get the wipe to Tatooine. So Tatooine is still kind of sunny and dry and deserty.
Right, but we were on a planet with some that it essentially looks like the fucking skyscraper planet.
Yeah,
because every
one street
planet's got to have its one thing. But I guess skyscraper planet would probably be Coruscant, so maybe that's not a good comparison. But there's a bunch of skyscrapers with some green glass, which looks cool, but I don't know why it's fucking there. One street. We cut to brown Tatooine planet. So essentially, in this upcoming episode, Jabba's looking for his son. Anakin and Ahsoka are looking for his son. Obi-Wan goes to meet Jabba. Jabba wants the kidnappers. Some random fucking clone troopers that we've never seen before know where his son is at. That's Jabba's son. They find him. They figure out where he's at. So, like, full on, let's go Clone Wars at that point, and along the way, like, some shenanigans ensue, and then there's Ventress again at the end, and the biggest change, not only visually, planetarily, but the fucking music in this episode, man, is fucking awesome. Like. And
I didn't take any notes on that. I didn't notice. So
I'll bring that up. I think let's get through some of this plot stuff first, so that we kind of know what's going on. But a big thing for Section 2, Castle of Deception, that was on my mind the entire time, is the fucking music. So I'd like to get back to that, but. What do you got for us as far as questions, comments?
I hate to bring this up again, but everybody is really fucking stupid.
Okay.
And it's really annoying. So there's that approach, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it, where the Jedi run up to the cliff. The droids are on top of the cliff.
Okay, so this is later in the episode, and once it's revealed where Rhoda the Hutt is, and Rhoda is the name of Jabba's son.
Yeah.
Like,
who, by the way, as a character design, is kind of terrifying.
he looks like a fucking booger.
Yeah,
like,
it's around. Like, it's weird because like
Rhoda.
Geometrically, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, imagine
he has just the head but no body.
Right.
Like,
it's Rhoda's literally like a small head / face of a Hutt that you've seen with Jabba the Hutt. But instead of having like a neck, a torso, and a body, it just like semen tapers down to a tail.
He's like a tadpole, but with like a tail that's half the length, and then but the same head portion.
Right.
Right. And then the face is on the end of that, and then 2 arms are sticking out of that.
It looks like one Huttling. That's what they call them? Huttlings, not Hutlets. Huttling.
Yeah.
I think it's a Huttling. It looks like one Huttling could swallow another Huttling in like one bite. Like their mouth and face are big enough to literally swallow their own kind of the same age and size, which is weird.
And again, I know I hammered it down in the last episode, but for some reason too, the detail on the animation of Rhoda was just atrocious. Like he looked blurry to me.
Well, it's okay. That's not an issue that I had.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that.
Like it again. Like if he is a flat rendering, it looks like they just drew some random wrinkle lines on him, and then called it good.
Right.
Like walked away. And then again, the actual animation movements of him are again very stiff and very like they knew the end actions and then just made a program to get them between those 2 points.
Which is actually the way that animation works, but
yeah, they needed more animation points in between that as well.
Right. Usually there's a group of animators that do like the major
the actual motion
action, and then it's
and then even facial like acting.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming one person worked on all of that instead of a few teams. Like
I think you're right.
Yeah, because again, it's just all. Like, yeah, sure, the quickest way between any 2 points is a line, but not
a literal line when you're working
in motion.
Animation.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So I don't want to keep harping on that.
To get back to what you were saying, I just wanted to fill in a couple of details. We find out that Rhoda is being held in this Bamoa monk monastery.
Yes. Yeah,
so essentially what it is Jabba's palace from Tatooine on a different planet called Teth. Teth.
Yeah.
Teth. Because the Bamoa monks occupied both of these establishments that are on different planets. And it just so happens, I guess, that that Jabba resides in one, and where his son was kidnapped and dropped off is another one on a different planet. So, and this monastery actually happens to be on top of a giant 4-sided fucking cliff, as though it was built on just one single rock spire that sticks up hundreds of fucking meters.
Yeah. Because it's a giant pillar that just has a cliff face that just shoots straight up
all the way around it.
Yeah, but then there's like forests and jungle under
there's
the bottom.
It's the actual surface of the planet is like jungle.
It's the jungle. Yeah. So then where this rock formation came from, I don't know.
Right. So you said that, or you started talking about when they start climbing this thing, right?
Yes. Yeah. That was like the point where all my notes had like skipped past like the other. Like, we got it. We're talking to Jabba. That makes sense because they explained that 30 minutes ago, like.
Yeah, so before this, we're talking to Jabba. Apparently Jabba had sent some fucking bounty hunters out to find his son, and this Nikto runs in and like talks to Jabba's protocol droid, like whispers in his ear, and then the protocol droid turns around and he's like, "Oh, hey Jabba, like the bounty hunters that you sent out are back," and Jabba's all super happy, and then these other two Niktos walk in with the
plate of
heads, it's
right?
it's like a battlefield stretcher from like a
it's like a cloth thing. Yeah,
it's a couple sticks with some fucking canvas on it, and 4 heads.
4 heads on it, and which tonally speaking, again, makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know if you're supposed to like laugh, like ha ha ha, they lost their heads, or like,
or be shocked that we're watching a cartoon, a PG cartoon.
It kind of comes out of nowhere and it goes nowhere. Like they just kind of parade past him, and it there's a close up on one of them that's like a droid head, and that's like it. So my question is, kind of like, what the fuck? And like, who presents information in that way? Like, hey, come in, like, hey, those 4 guys you were looking for, like, they're back. Nope, just their heads.
Again,
I don't know.
Just from a storytelling perspective, I am at least glad that it wasn't just something that was given in a line of dialogue.
Yeah.
Because that has happened. For a show / movie that starts with narration that literally just says the plot and then gets on with it.
Right.
I am glad at least they realized, like, hey, maybe it would be cooler in a visual medium to visually show that those fuckers are dead. Right. Because this has happened in a lot of different other, like, not clone. It's not something Clone Wars specifically has done themselves. It fucking happens in Hamlet. Fucking dude walks out on the stage and just says, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. Like, okay, what the fuck happened to them? Like, that's one line. What? Like, So anytime you can kind of actually present something visually, that'll be better. It's just that this comes out of fucking nowhere and is just unnecessary. And then, like, it leads to the fucking, like, shock reaction of Jabba. Again, poorly animated. Like,
one of my notes is that Jabba's mouth doesn't move because it doesn't. Yeah, like, when he's talking, it's just like it's like it's got 2 modes. Trying to use a puppet. Like,
yeah, it's got open or close, and that's it.
Right.
Like,
Jim Henson, the guys at the Henson factory and over at fucking Sesame Street have been making Muppets and puppets talk with more realistic mouth movements than what's going on here.
Kermit has 2 ping pong balls for eyes, and yet I believe all of that a lot more than whatever the fuck is happening with Jabba. Like, right. So, yes. Anyways, carry on. Continue.
So before we get over to the monastery on Teth, I've got a note that says, "Why call Chancellor?" Did somebody call him? Like, we see the fucking bounty hunters' heads.
Yeah.
And then I know that somebody's talking to Sheev Palpatine. I don't remember who it is, but he's got two guys with him. One is a Gran, which is like the three-eyed, weird-looking dudes, and the other dude's a Rodian. And in later episodes, we find out that this guy is Anaconda Farr. I think that he was in episode 2 at the very beginning when Padme's ship is blowed up, but she survives. There's a little Rodian hologram that pops up on Palpatine's desk. That's Anaconda Farr. Okay. So that's the character's name. And he is supposedly like Uncle Ono is what Padme calls him. So he's there. This other dude's there who has misnumbered toes. Like one of his feet has 3 toes, one of them has 4 toes. I don't know what's going on with that. And whatever they're talking about is not notable enough to stick into my brain.
Yeah.
But
honestly, I didn't take notes on it, and I forgot about that until you just brought it up now. I'm not gonna lie. Like that I think also like these two I saw together, so I haven't seen the last half of the movie yet.
Right.
But I think I'm glad I took the break only because I think my second page of notes for this second section is a lot lighter than the first. I think because I was raging out so much.
Right.
You know, that as I was leading to the second section, I was like, I got it. You're fucking hologramming. You're saying the same shit. Move on. What the fuck are you guys doing?
There is a lot of hologramming back and forth, and there's kind of a lot of characters jumping from like one place to the next simply for convenience.
Yeah.
And it's something that doesn't help move this plot along. I'm having a difficult time trying to present what's going on in an engaging manner, and I think that's possibly because I don't have a lot to deal with to begin with. So, you know, we've got kind of little groups of people like talking about stuff, and it's just kind of stuff. I've got a long section of my notes that is honestly about the shields on the fucking Republic cruisers. Again, like I talked about it in Cat and Mouse, I think, where these fucking doors open, ships fly out, like you can see some blue shields in there, and it just fucking drives me fucking nuts with these fucking things. So even with this, like we're getting real close to being able to move on to what you had brought up, like after these fucking doors open on top of this thing, this transport ship flies up, and it's got the 2 clone troopers that saw what was going on Teth, and he's getting ready to fill in Anakin and Ahsoka, and instead of like flying across the top of the ship and dropping into the top where we already know there is ample room because it's this entire fucking docking bay that runs a 1/4 mile length of this ship, like they go into like the back door, I guess, which is kind of like at the bottom, and it's weird because like one, they go into a different thing, but you can see the ship fly in, and you can see doors close behind it, and then it just kind of pans a little bit to the right, and then there's fucking people standing there, like. That was my question before, and now it's like my question again. Is like, is it a hole into space or is it not a hole into space? Like, make up your mind one way or the other. Like, sometimes you got a blue shield, sometimes you don't have a blue shield.
Yeah, like, are we to assume the blue shield is always there even if we don't see it?
Well, so, like, in the original trilogy, there was no fucking blue shields.
No.
That I remember.
Exactly, yeah.
in the prequel trilogy, I think that there was blue shields, and now it's just kind of fucking willy nilly.
Yeah.
But I feel like there should be, because that way you know that there is, like, we've already seen that there are, so
yeah.
then there should be, like, either there are or there aren't.
Is Blue Shield the Star Wars equivalent of like having glass doors and putting tape on it so you don't run into it? Like,
no, I think Blue Shield is like the equivalent of having a screen on your window so that the bugs don't get in. Like, there's there's a barrier there, and it's just a visual barrier. But
yeah.
it fucking bugs the shit out of me that it's there sometimes and it's not sometimes. Like, it was never a fucking thought in my brain when I was a kid watching the original trilogy, because they were never there. Like,
yeah.
I guess I just understood, like, oh, there's some fucking invisible thing there that's like making everything good.
Yeah.
For the good people, you know? Mm-hmm. But once you put that thing, like, okay, we've shown you that there's a blue energy shield that is containing atmosphere or fucking doing something. Mm-hmm. Like, we've shown you that this is a thing that we're going to show you sometimes, and sometimes we're just not going to do it because it's like, whatever. So.
Yeah, no, I have no answer for you there. I'll try and pay attention to that next time, see when it comes up again. But yeah, in this one I did not notice it. In terms of just, again, I think I was just raging out based on the bad storytelling to begin with. That little detail.
Yeah, I watched this
way beyond me.
I watched this fucking section like 10 times in a row, and it's like fucking 5 or 10 seconds, and like you can. Well,
nope.
No, you can't.
Just no. Nope. We can't. We gotta move on. There's not gonna be an answer.
All right. So these dudes get out of their ship after not dying, and nobody around them dies for reasons unknown. And
more bad storytelling.
Yeah. So they tell Anakin, like, you need to go to this monastery on Teth. Like, that's where Rhoda's at.
Rhoda. Yeah.
And Anakin basically says, "Oh, well, how'd you figure that out?" And their response is, "We're the best scouts in the regiment."
Yeah.
Like, how'd you do that? We're the best. And he's he's like, okay. And then they leave, and you never see them again. Not named. Never see him again. Never saw him before. But they're the best. So in this war of great offenses and great decision making, they took the two best guys, and I guess they let them retire or something. Like, hey, you did a good job. You didn't fuck it up. Like,
thank you.
Good for you. See you later.
Yeah, go home. Have some burritos. Have fun.
Did you say have burritos?
Yeah, go enjoy yourself. You know,
burritos are good.
Yeah, go eat what you want. Yeah. So I had a thought. Now it's gone from me. But so they take their word. They head on out.
Mm-hmm. They go to Teth.
The jungle planet that has a lot of clouds on it.
And
it's
it
very
also
foggy.
And it also has these really awesome fucking modified Republic gunships. So the Republic gunships are the ones that you see in the Battle of Geonosis, where they're the white things with the red wings that come down and like the side doors open, which also don't have any shields, and you can get in and out of them from the side, and they just have hooks in the ceiling to hold on, and Padme falls out of them.
Padme fucking just drops out.
Yeah, or tried to commit suicide from listening to Anakin and Obi-Wan. Could be. You never know.
Yeah. Well, after watching more of this, like, I don't blame her. Like,
so that is a Republic gunship. Yes. Now, imagine that you have the cockpit and a little bit behind it, okay? Mm-hmm. And then you've got, like, the spine that goes up over the top. And there's a gunner on top. And then the wings come down the sides, right?
Yep.
So cut out the rest of it. like the section where Yoda just chills with his cane and the clone troopers, like the part with the doors and the storage compartment for the peoples that get on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remove that. And then you put some, like, 2 big-ass magnets that hang down under the wings. And these things pick up AT-TEs, which is an all-terrain tactical enforcer. It's the 6-legged walker that was designed for the Clone Wars. Like, you see one of those flying in. When we first hit Teth, there's, I don't know, 3 or 4 gunships and like 1 or 2 of these things. And they just look really fucking cool. And I have a vague memory that this may or may not have been a Lego set. Like, I've seen it, but I don't know if it's an actual Lego set or if it's like a mod that somebody made.
Like somebody went off and built
Right.
it themselves, sort
Like-
of thing. Yeah.
Like, took a Republic gunship and took an ATTE and fucking put them together. But
Threw
they're
'em in,
fucking
yeah.
cool. So I was pleased when I saw that. That made me happy. So then we get there, we drop all of our shit off on the ground, and now we're at the bottom of this giant fucking mountain, which leads us to your question that I asked you for and then ignored for the past half an hour.
Yeah. Yep. So, the Jedi, Anakin and Ahsoka, and their band of clone troopers are at the bottom.
Yep.
And the droids are at the top,
Yep.
and both sides are being equally dumb to me.
Okay.
You know, at least the Jedi are hiding, but then like one droid sees them, looks down, calls it out that he saw them. The other droid is like, I don't see anything, so you're just being dumb. Doesn't believe him. The one droid keeps looking and is so dumb that as the droid is trying to see underneath the rock, falls off the cliff.
Right.
And this is the army that's been presenting problems for the Jedi. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes, it has.
Okay. So then, I guess the plan is to rappel up the cliff.
Which is the opposite of repelling.
Yeah. Well, they're ascending. Well, like, that was my question too. Because, like, again, it was very convenient. They're just like, they're shooting grappling hooks into God knows where.
Into like a mile up the fucking thing.
Yeah.
So like this little spool that's on the bottom of the guns. Like I had to watch this a couple of times to figure out what was going on. And the only way, or one of the clues that I had is like, I think when they pick the clone troopers pick these guns up, and there's like this circular thing underneath the barrel, and it makes like that zip noise.
Yeah.
That you get from like a ripcord or something that's like spring tightened, and you pull it out and it like goes back in, right?
Yeah.
So they kind of make that noise, and then they like shoot them up the fucking mountain.
Yeah.
So the zip line cord is attached to the gun, with which they are holding on simply with 2 hands, one around the barrel, which isn't one around the barrel that's probably pretty tight, and the other one around the stock, which is a looser grip because you can't just mash down on the trigger all the time.
Yeah.
So that thing is somehow with variable speed propelling them up the side of this mountain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Because there was another. I didn't take the note, but I recall just getting very visually confused. Again, whoever animated this. I mean, I'm glad you worked on it. That sounds cool. You worked on a Star Wars movie, but when they shoot all of these, I don't recall them ever having any trajectory per se. Again, they all essentially shoot in a straight line, straight up, hundreds of meters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there seems to be no arc of gravity.
I'm wondering if on Teth the gravity is different, because that would help iron out a lot of these confusions. Like,
Yeah. Well, once they start bringing the massive
ATTEs.
Yes, yeah. Once all of that starts heading up as well.
Yeah, so
what were those attached to as well? Yeah, what were those attached to? Like,
yeah, what Lorenzo's talking about is that the fucking ATTEs just walk up to the base of this sheer fucking cliff that's straight up. It's a rock pillar that is conveniently just as large as the fucking monastery that is built on top of it, shooting straight up out of the fucking ground like a quarter mile.
Yeah, so essentially you're at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. You got a zip. You have a grappling hook at the end of a rifle. Essentially, you're pointing straight up with the grappling hook. You fire. The grappling hook somehow makes it all the way up.
Yeah, you're climbing. There's Devil's Tower in Colorado, Montana, somewhere. I'm terrible.
I got nope.
Somewhere there.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
So Devil's Tower is basically what this thing is, where it's a giant fucking rock formation that's just fired up out of the ground.
Yeah. So then, so carrying on, there is a full-blown tank at the bottom.
Yes. A tank with feet instead of treads.
Yes. But nonetheless, I take what I just shot up and hold it near the tank, and the tank somehow then ascends up.
No. The tank does not use said grappling hook.
Okay. Yes.
The tank is literally walking up the wall.
You're right. That's right. It does grip in with all of its feet, doesn't it? Because at one point when Ahsoka runs up, the one kind of falls back.
It falls back a little bit and then like pushes its
catches itself
head back forward. So it's I don't think it's like a grippy thing, and you're gonna like this even less. But I think it's a magnetic thing.
Because I feel there's nothing about this that is structurally sound. Like I get that we're talking about a universe in which there are Jedi and Gungans and whatever Yoda is, but there's still got to be like a certain level of like verisimilitude, right? Like just some basis of reality there for me to just grip my my brain hooks into.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, I forgot that thing was just crawling up.
It literally these big 6-footed walking tank things literally just walk up the wall.
Yeah. Very slowly. So then there's ample opportunity for the droids again to start shooting at it. Of which they have the high ground.
They do. They do have the high ground. I'm glad you brought that up. That's hilarious.
So Anakin is not doing well. And then the other note I have is why is Ahsoka so happy in battle? We brought this up last time too about jumping forward, where Anakin is very happy. Ahsoka in this one is super trigger happy.
I think because she's like a little fucking kid that doesn't understand the gravity of the situation.
What doesn't help too is then Anakin joins in on that game, sees that she's about to fall down, jumps down, takes out the droids on the fucking glider thingies, steals one of them.
The glider thingy is in like the thing that he's riding.
Yes, yeah. And then rides back up.
That's a STAP. It's an STAP. It stands for something. It's like a standard troop aerial patrol, maybe.
Yeah.
That sounds
So
right.
yeah, one of those things. Yeah, because he's slicing and dicing the droids. Ahsoka is still hanging on the AT that is falling back, and then he flies off, looks back, smirks, and goes, "Keep up, Snips." People
Yeah,
are
it's
dying.
it's it's a playful game that's
Yeah.
going on.
While troopers are dying. That's fine. That's sure, guys. Great. Um, yeah. So again, right off the bat with the introduction of Ahsoka, this is continuing my rant of how much I just dislike her at this point because as this series so far is trying to like expand out that segment of the Clone Wars that gets skipped over in the movies, just the weird happy-go-lucky attitude of all of these characters, but especially Ahsoka jumping into it as a 14-year-old, a cocky 14-year-old.
I think that Dave Filoni should remake some nice classic war movies.
Oh yeah,
No, I was actually making a joke. Could you imagine like Saving Private Ryan, and there's like a little like spunky kid like, hey, look at me, like I fucking jumped higher than you did, yay!
well, yeah, that's essentially what happens, right? Like, and it's not even like the admirable like what happened, Forrest? You got shot.
Right. Something bit me.
Yeah. At least that's in that tone already, But in this one you get like again, last episode, or keeping movie as one unit, last episode where there's the fucking turncoat and the clones are all like concerned and they're like clutching pearls because they were betrayed, And then you cut to this one, and Ahsoka is just like, this is fun. This is what I've been training for my entire life.
Whee!
Nothing can go wrong. Oh, shit, I just walked into a trap. Like, that's okay.
Right.
And then, like, skipping forward, she fucking happily tells a story about how she saved Anakin, Like, yo, you guys, like, that was your fault to begin with. Like...
Nah, that was in the last episode. That was before
she
they
does
left.
say it right at the end, right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
before they get out of there.
Before they leave Christophsis.
Yeah.
Right.
So, anyways, yeah, that's right. So, yeah. So, anyways,
my next note still is concerned with your nitpickiness that you just had going on with these things walking up the fucking wall. And so when we get to the top of this rock spire, there is what can only be described, I guess, as like a landing platform, like jutting out from the edge. So not only are all of our heroes and clones equipment and tanks and ATTEs and all this shit climbing a wall, but when they get to the top, there's like an oververt that goes like that. Like they essentially have to climb along the ceiling for an additional, I don't know, 50 feet before they get to the edge and they can get back over the top. So I wrote like, okay, maybe vertical, but not oververt. Like,
like we're really pushing it.
It's literally over the top.
Yeah. Yep.
Like no pun intended, even though absolutely pun intended, because the fucking cliff is over the top of them.
Yeah.
But it's like the idea of it is literally over the top.
Yeah. Even with everything we've already talked about, grappling hooks that go to nowhere. And giant machines that are gripping onto it. Even if you've gone along to it with it at this point, like this is I remember just seeing that and I was just like, I don't know what's even going on at this point anymore, just like okay, they're making it to the top, and is so the two scout troopers know that Rhoda is up there, Is there any other
They had
scouting that took place?
they had a fucking ship. They could fly
Yeah.
up there and land on the fucking landing platform.
Yeah.
And like smack around the 5 fucking battle droids that are up there and walk in and get Rhoda and put them on the fucking ship and fly them out.
Yeah. This is ugh.
It's all
Yeah,
it's all awkward responsibility and poor judgment, and it's no wonder that a group of guys and gals and aliens that can't fight a war for you when put in charge of a fucking war don't do the best fucking job of commanding. Like,
yeah. So this also goes back to something I talked about in the last episode in terms of just lifeless battles.
uh-huh.
You know, it all comes down to just this weird storytelling in that we know they need to get up there, but like this battle is so drawn out that it stops meaning anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because like,
So did it stop meaning anything before or after they literally started climbing the wall?
to me, on Christophsis, by the time, yeah,
So
by the
way,
time,
way before.
yeah, by the time Obi-Wan is literally just sitting having a cup of tea with Loathsome, you know, like it stopped meaning something, right? Like if
Yeah.
he's gonna sit there
It's
and just
silly.
start bantering with the enemy, you know,
What is what does Grievous call Obi-Wan in episode 3, like the Great Negotiator or some
oh
shit?
god, I don't even remember.
Oh, that's
We'll have to get
hilarious.
there. Yeah. So, yeah. So, at this point, we've had like 3 or 4, depending on how you want to count it, drawn out battles. We're
Uh-huh.
still only like, 40 minutes into this whole thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean
30-ish, 30 to 40.
Yeah, right at this point where they're at the top of this spire and they talked to Spider-Man, he helped them climb across the ceiling and they got up over
Yeah.
the edge. We're around the 38-40 minute mark. Is this where we get the awesome fucking battle droid line where they're like the battle droid goes, what's he say? Like, we have you surrounded. You're outnumbered. And then the clone's
that
like,
sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah.
when is that? Because I know I had a note on it, but I don't know where it is. So I don't want to broach that one too quickly, but I like it well enough to talk about it in more than one episode. Like, somewhere around this time, these fucking droids claim to have, you know, these clone troopers surrounded or whatever, and they're like, hey, stop, you're surrounded. And the clone trooper basically just fucking responds like, no, there's more of us than there are of you.
Yeah. I
And then
I
the
remember
fuck,
that.
and then the fucking droid's like, what? Really? 1, 2, 3, like counting the fucking droids, and then gets his ass fucking blown up. Like,
yeah.
oh, you're shaking your head, and I think it's fucking hilarious. That is
No,
fucking hilarious.
Again, just the tone of everything leading to this point
It's fucking
is
hilarious.
so frustrating that is like, to me, the cherry on top of the disgusting pie, cake, shake, whatever, right? Like this whole thing to me up to this point, and we're only halfway through this movie.
Right, almost.
Yeah. Like we're only covering half the movie at this point once we
Mhm.
finish this episode.
Right.
The tone is so all over the place that tossing in a joke like that only serves to frustrate me that much more.
That makes me sad.
You know, just only because I have already seen how dumb the droids are
Mm-hmm.
10 times over, that to see it the 11th time just like falls so flat with me. Right.
Yeah, so once we get to the top of the spire, what happens to everybody then? they go inside the
They go in
inside the monastery, right?
Well, there's a I think we kind of I'm trying to remember how they exactly showed it, but there's a kind of the flash sideways where Jabba or Count Dooku is setting a trap for them as well, right?
Yeah, so this is our introductory to Count Dooku. Like all of our dudes get to the top of the rock pile, and it cuts back over to Tatooine and the other Bamoar monk monastery, where Jabba resides, and Dooku's there. So Dooku's talking to Jabba about what's going on, and he's basically saying like the Jedi are going to kill Rhoda, like they're the ones that kidnapped him. I'm the only one that can help you save your son. So he swoops in, and you don't hear too much more other than that in this episode, but there's definitely more in that storyline to come. So to that point, I question like if this were 4 separate 22-minute episodes, would that even have, is this just like a re-editing of things because there was general ideas of what was going on, and this just got bumped up a little bit earlier to break the scary tension of climbing the wall, or something like that. Like that logistically is what I'm assuming. Otherwise it probably would have all just fallen in place in probably section 3.
Well, because the one thing that Dooku does set up is, so he sets a trap for the Jedi for Ahsoka and Anakin. So what he does is so like as you say, he's trying to convince Jabba that it is in fact the Jedi that have him, Rhoda. So then once Ahsoka and Anakin get to the top, now I'm trying to remember exactly, but they do eventually get to Rhoda, right? Pretty quickly they get to Rhoda.
Yeah, they get to the top. We cut over to Tatooine. It cuts back to
everybody just chilling up
back
top.
to Teth, and then
because they really
then they just basically like fucking walk inside, and boom, then they find Rhoda.
Rhoda is right there. Yeah, so then
although I know that Asajj Ventress shows up outside, because my last note for this episode is about Anakin's backward slide underneath the door. So they're outside. Asajj Ventress shows up. The fucking outside garage door, whatever you want to call it, is like closing as all the clones and everybody are backing inside to seek fortitude. And Anakin, at the last moment, because he's a badass leader and that's what you're supposed to do, is like lead your troops, and like, I'll give him credit, man. He's out there on the front line, and he's saving all of his guys, and he's making sure that they're all good. Like, hey, back the fuck up. Like, get inside, get shelter, get out of the way. We're outnumbered, whatever, because Asajj Ventress is here. She brought reinforcements and whatnot. And right before the garage door closes, he just drops to his side and like force slides backwards or something.
Yeah, I remember that. It doesn't make any sense because like he literally drops to the ground and then like gets shifted over.
Yeah,
like, he doesn't.
I think it's
there's
like
no running start into it. Like he literally just like falls.
Not.
Yeah, he flops over and then.
I don't think it's momentum. I think it's the force. And my comment about it was that he fucking out Indiana Jones, like backwards sliding underneath this door at the last second. Like, I thought it was cool.
No, that was fine. So we skipped something though because because it happens before outside.
Okay.
Dooku gets footage of Anakin and Ahsoka just holding on to Rhoda.
Okay.
Sends it back to Jabba. Mm-hmm. And that's what convinces Jabba that Dooku's telling the truth.
Okay.
But here's my problem. Obi-Wan tells Jabba that they're gonna go get Rhoda.
Yeah, the logic is all over the place.
Yeah. So then essentially Count Dooku just does the work for them in giving Jabba the proof that they are indeed on the track of getting back Rhoda.
I honestly thought that segment, that little transmission that you're talking about, happened later. So
I might have been mixing it up. Again, all of this anyways is just,
but yeah,
there's too many leaps. Like,
it totally sounds right. Like, there were definitely a couple of communications back to Jabba the Hutt that are things that happen, but I mean, you see them happen in real time, and you see that somebody is like filming this, and then you see Dooku like showing it to Jabba, and it's taken out of context. Yeah, and obvious, I mean, that's the first excuse when something comes out in some type of media where it shows someone unfavorably, like, oh, it's taken out of context, but like in this case, you see what the fuck happens, and then you see the edited snippet to make it look different than it actually is. And the way that it looks is that they're loading Rhoda into a backpack, and Anakin's like, I fucking hate Hutts, like, I fucking hate him. And that's what is shown to Jabba, and so then Jabba gasps and knows that obviously at that point Dooku must be telling the truth.
Yeah, but
even though he's really the one that's like behind all this shit anyway. Yeah. So
is that the same backpack that was holding the charges in the last segment?
If it's not the same one, it's the same kind of backpack, which is like a hard cardboard box with straps. Which is weird.
Was weird to me too, because like you see it in the last segment too. I kind of forgot about it until just now. When they go to set off the charges to blow up the shield, the backpack straps are rigid around Ahsoka's body. Like, there's always a little bit of space between her and the backpack that doesn't fill at any point, which I thought was weird. Like,
that's
in the
force.
Future, yeah, I guess she's force holding up the backpack so that she doesn't strain her back,
so it's not heavy.
Yeah, but that was one of those weird details I noticed where I was just like, I just blamed it again on like the weird animation quality. I was like, I guess they couldn't bother to work physics onto the bag of all things. Right. So then by the time the bag is rigid as they're loading Rhoda into it, I'm like, why do you have a basket essentially? Like,
yep.
But anyways,
that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. So I don't have any other notes on that segment. So then essentially the rest of it, you want to close out the
Yeah, I've actually only got one more note, and then we can I got one note, then we need to do one thing, and then we can close this out. So my last note is that this is the 4th episode of These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. And the first episode was Cat and Mouse.
Yep.
In this episode, Anakin didn't listen to shit. Like, he's directly defying what he's being told. He's talking to Obi-Wan on the phone at one point in time and is just like, hey, fuck you, and hangs up on him and does whatever the fuck he wants, right?
Yep.
So in the second episode, Hidden Enemy, he being Anakin and Obi-Wan kind of work together in this episode. And in the Hidden Enemy. Anyway, so we got doesn't listen to shit, works together.
Yeah.
In the first section of the Clone Wars movie, they kind of work together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So, to reiterate, doesn't listen to shit. 2 episodes of working together. And in this one, he's like, "Ooh, I need to ask my master." Like, what the fuck happened to him? Like, it's a regressive arc of he's not. I don't know. It's fucking weird because he's so cocksure and headstrong and all this stuff in Cat and Mouse that we were even making comments about.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe he got a scar because
He's just doing some dumbass shit.
Right.
I wasn't listening.
Obi-Wan fucking bitch slapped him for not listening. And now that he's got this Padawan, like he's just kind of like a little whiny fucking puppy kitten. Like sometimes he's having fun and like playing and can run around. He's full of energy.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's showing a little bit of loyalty and doing the nitty gritty and what needs to be done. But when like the challenging shit comes up, he's like, "Oh, I don't really know what to do." You know, he's one step away from saying, "I wish my mom or dad was here so I could ask him for help."
Oh yeah, I can see that. Because it's funny. The last note I wrote, it's awful. I don't remember when he says it. I didn't write the note of when he wrote it or when he said it. I just wrote my reaction to it. At one point, Anakin tells Ahsoka to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
Anakin's the last fucking person who should be telling anybody to be patient.
It's like right at the end of the episode, and
Yeah.
he does give her like a little lecture on, like you said, being patient. I don't remember exactly what he says.
Yeah.
But it's advice that is akin to the little snippets of text that are at the beginning of all of these individual episodes that we actually haven't talked about. So, for the listeners, at the beginning of each episode, there's like a little blue text that pops up, and it's actually called the fortune cookie. So it's like a 1 or 2 line tidbit of
just sometimes they're quotes, sometimes they're advice,
right?
Like life pro tips,
right? And they tend to kind of sum up the moral of the episode in 1 or 2 lines, and that's basically the kind of support that Anakin is giving Ahsoka here.
Yeah, because honestly, like we haven't brought it up, but again, these 2 segments are part of one movie, so they don't actually use them here. But
right,
you know, according to our external research of just looking on IMDb, it said for the new Padawan segment 1, if it were to still have a Jedi fortune cookie, it would have been to teach is to learn twice. You know, so then Anakin gets his fucking Padawan, has to start teaching her shit.
Right.
Then we get to this one. It would have been the wise Jedi does not trust appearances. So
I don't know what the fuck that means.
I don't know how that applies here. Actually, yeah, I was hoping you got that one.
Nope.
We got nothing.
Nope.
All we know is Anakin should not be teaching shit to anybody.
Right.
Why do they trust him with a Padawan? I don't fucking like. Because then Ahsoka says that a couple times in the last segment too, where she's like, "Well, Master Yoda thought I should be your apprentice," and then Anakin is like, "No, I don't want a Padawan." Blah 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 blah.
Sick, I hate you.
Yeah, like I'm gonna make she doesn't fucking kill herself just out of depression. You know?
Nah, she's like a little puppy when like you already got a dog that's like old and cantankerous and like. The dog's like, fuck you, but then like eventually they get along, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, in reality, Anakin is 5 years older than Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Ahsoka's 14, Anakin's 19 at this point, and it's again, we're gonna beat this fucking dead horse until it's nothing but dirt, but the whole Clone Wars in general, we're gonna find out maybe, I don't know, maybe the decision making process will get better. But
Oh God.
up until this,
you're so hopeful. You're so hopeful.
up until this point, it is just a series of bad decisions. And I'm not saying it's like, bad decisions that got us into this war. The war is orchestrated. Like, all of this is fucking planned for the situation to have happened. So now Darth Sidious, because we know that he orchestrated this whole fucking thing, got his way, started this galactic civil war, and after the fact, we have a group on the good guys' side that is leading the charge of freedom, or so they think, and it is headed by a bunch of leaders that continually make bad decision after bad decision after bad decision.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. Just
does that
full
mean
agreement?
Right? Does that mean that it's going to not be a good, entertaining story that we're gonna like? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see how this. Again, I'm glad I took a break after this segment.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give you a homework assignment, and I think what you need to do is at least go back and listen to this section 2, Castle of Deception, and ignore all dialogue, and don't even fucking look at the TV, but just listen to the background music, because what has happened here is all Star Wars up until this point was orchestrated to a T by the great John Williams, with these awesome little motifs for each person, and they had their each character had their own fucking theme, and he was really able to tell the story of Star Wars through music, behind all the dialogue and all the visuals and all the fucking technology and everything else that was going into it. A classic orchestral score. And the Clone Wars does not even pretend like they're trying to match an orchestral score or anything. Like, they have their main theme that is orchestral, but aside from that, like, music in these episodes and the movie each fucking week is really fucking phenomenal, in my opinion. And I don't know who is in charge of it, but whoever was taking taking little snippets and ideas from different music from different cultures and using that to create an ambiance of what's going on in the background. So go back and just listen to the fucking music, man.
Yeah, and maybe it doesn't apply to this movie, but especially for the show. Again, I'm not saying. Actually, no, I'm kind of saying, you do have to judge television on a sort of different, based on different criteria, right? So, like, in praising music that way, I do the same thing where, like Ramin Djawadi writing for Game of Thrones, right?
Okay.
That music is phenomenal, and the other thing you have to remember is, depending on the production schedule, he might only have a couple of weeks to try and write and compose and record and mix and finalize music for each episode.
Right.
Right.
He's a professional at what he does. I mean, Michael Giacchino did the same thing with Rogue One.
Oh, he had a month. Yeah.
I don't even think he had that long. I think he wrote it in like fucking 3 days, like start to finish for the whole fucking movie was like 3 weeks tops.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I ever told you, but I saw him in concert around late October of the year Rogue One came out, of end of 2016.
Right.
And it was a concert for Lost, the show, you know?
Okay.
And beforehand, he did a little Q&A, which was unannounced, and somebody thankfully asked the question. It was literally the day after it was announced that Alexander Desplat was dropping out of composing for Rogue One due to scheduling conflicts, all that, and then Michael Giacchino got picked up. And the question was like, "Oh, do you have any ideas yet for Rogue One?" And Giacchino was like, "I just got that call yesterday. I'll let you know after this weekend.
Right.
We'll see." Like, you know.
Right.
And we're most of the way through October already. That movie was coming out in like mid-December, you know.
Right. So like a month and a half.
A month and a half. Yeah, so the speed with which some of these people can write is amazing.
It's intense.
Yeah. And even then, so again, you know, I don't want to underplay what Giacchino had to do. You know, a 2-hour movie in some 6 weeks. That's one thing, but 22 minutes of music for what, like 23 episodes over each week.
Oh, are you looking at like what that is total?
Not even total, but just the pressure of just having to make sure you have something for 22 minutes of footage.
Yeah, that's
week in, week out,
that's
right?
484 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, because at least
per season.
Yeah, for Giacchino, you know, he has the 6 weeks.
Right, which is 8 hours.
Yeah, so like, it's. I'm trying to think again. Names: Kevin Kiner, some that wrote
Kiner.
Yes.
However you Kiner, however you want to.
Kiner. You know, because like the production is going, and then even then, like with, I don't know when they're turning in the animation or like what, like if he's like working off of storyboards and he has to make fine tweaks to it, you know. But he has that week to record it before airtime. You know?
Right.
That was one of the other things Giacchino brought up in the Q&A too, where either he brought up in the Q&A or he just brought up during the actual concert in between pieces. But you know, he didn't. He got to see the script literally the week before the episode was airing. You know, the episode was being edited during that week.
Right.
So he's trying to score as much as he can, laying it down, and then he talked about how sometimes he was still laying down tracks when that episode was airing, like in less than 24 hours.
Right.
You know, so that's a high pressure situation. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
Like one power outage anywhere could spell doom. You know, like out here in LA, we're pretty fortunate. It doesn't happen often, but you know, like an earthquake could really just throw off a schedule real quickly, you know.
Right.
So anyways, that's the long discussion of I have no talent for it for writing music, but I highly love and appreciate all that a good composer can do, you know. And just the speed that these people are writing this music for all of it, you know. Giacchino on the various TV shows, you know.
Yeah, it's not something that I could do.
No, yeah. So yeah, and then same to the orchestra that has to freaking learn the piece within hours, play it, you know.
That's not even learn to the ability to be able to play. That's learn to the ability to be able to play at a flawless professional level.
Oh, yeah. They're essentially just reading it and then trying it, and then they might get a couple takes at it, you know. So yeah. I'll try. Yeah, I'll definitely try and pay attention to the music moving forward.
Yeah, you definitely should, because there's, and I won't even call it like, subtle notes in the background. Like, there's just some full blown fucking awesome stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're viewing these, but I watch each episode like on my computer, so I have my headphones on, so it's definitely a little more
present right there for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm definitely just watching through a TV.
Right.
There's some space between me that and the screen.
Right. That's kind of what I figured.
You have. Yeah. So, anyways, anything else you want to address in this episode before we get on out of here?
So typically we do a thumbs up, thumbs down. So I don't have your thumbs up, thumbs down from the new Padawan.
Do you have to ask? I'm gonna say thumbs down on that one.
Okay.
It's not pleased with that one.
I also gave new Padawan a thumbs down.
Yeah.
Because in combination of spending enough time on Christophsis, it's kind of a cat and mouse situation where it's just doesn't really seem necessary once we just straight move on to this whole Road to the Hut thing. Like,
yeah, I agree. Like, it,
you could have that stuff that was there could have been wrapped up nicely in the montage time during
like the narration.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like that was a one-line thing. Like, hey, I don't even know why it matters that they're on Christophsis if they just need to go to Tatooine to address Jabba the Hutt and then end up on Teth anyways. Like,
yeah, I don't either.
Yeah. So I agree. And then having in our context of it being the third story on Christophsis, that also is overkill,
There's some Christophsis oversaturation for sure.
Yeah, no matter how you approach it. If Clone Wars movie is how you're jumping into it, it's unnecessary. If you're watching it chronological by story, then it's too much, because especially that last segment is unnecessary. Like, So then, yeah.
So what are your overall thoughts of Castle of Deception? That is part 2 of the Clone Wars movie.
I am still not a fan.
Okay, so you're a thumbs down on that one as well?
Oh, yeah. Just logical leaps, weird storytelling techniques. Dumb character decisions on all parties. Anakin, Ahsoka, droids, Jabba, even, just all have weird reactions to dumb things, or they're doing dumb things themselves.
Right.
And then we get introduced to Rhoda, which is terrifying looking.
Mm-hmm.
He is not cute at all. And then on top of that, the animation quality on him specifically just looked muddy.
Right.
Like it looked like a PS1 game, essentially. It looked like a PlayStation 1 game. Like, the textures that were on Rhoda look like original Lara Croft face.
I gotcha.
Like, we're talking, this is 2008, again.
Right, not 98.
Yeah, Wall-E had just come out. There's some beautiful animation going on there, but with Rhoda, which is just an orb with eyes, they couldn't be bothered to just put some decent sharp textures on him. Like,
yeah, it's a weird design.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, so your
this one's tough. My initial reaction was up.
Mm-hmm.
After talking about this episode, it was down.
Yep.
While I was asking you your opinion,
yeah,
It was up and down. So I think that I think I gotta go thumbs down on this. Like, I don't know if it didn't. I'm totally. I think I'm cool with the kidnapping deal and the bit with Dooku being in the presence of Jabba, just directly fucking manipulating him.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. This fucking rock wall climb and just the shenanigans that go along with it.
Well, it's a rock wall climb that Anakin makes his way up most of the way already, comes down, jumps on, again, the freaking stap glider thingy, just to rub it in Ahsoka's face and then fly off again.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and then once he's at the top, he's like, "Damn it, Ahsoka, where are you?" And then she fucking blows away some droidicas.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's like, "I'm right here, dude. Like, come on."
But also, like, you left her, douche. Like, what are you doing? You know, that's your fucking Padawan. Like, lead instead of just leaving, you know? So, anyways. Yep. You saw positives in it. I still am just overwashed with just all the ridiculous shit that's going on in this episode.
Well, I'm hoping things turn around for you a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
these ones are pretty rough.
I'm looking ahead at episode titles, and I'm trying to decide where the Clone Wars is gonna just pull you over onto this side, and where you're gonna be see. And I'm thinking it's gonna be episode 20, the Gungan General. That's gonna be it. Oh boy, that's gonna be your turning point, man.
All right, we'll see. You all heard it here. Episode 20.
Episode 20.
Place your bets. So, will I be turned by then? Will I be into Clone Wars by then? Well, we'll see. Keep listening.
So, what do we got coming up next week?
What is next week? I don't have any notes on that, actually. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have any notes on what's coming up.
No worries. That is
segment
3 of 4. So
we're still in the Clone Wars feature. I got that much.
In the Clone Wars feature film, and that segment is called Castle of Doom. So to kind of rehash, the 4 sections of the Clone Wars are the New Padawan, and then Castle of Deception, Castle of Doom, and Castle of Salvation. So one of these things is not like the other, you know? But, that's what we got coming up next. Castle of Doom covers minutes 48 and 30 seconds to 109 and 24 seconds. So about 21 minutes there that we got coming up next week. And,
No, you skipped...
Oh, no, that's right.
No.
That's Castle of Doom.
Sorry, my fault.
We're on Castle of Deception now.
Yep. My fault.
So
we have been talking too hotly about how stupid all these characters are that it's melting in my brain a bit. So, anyways, if you want to interact with us, you can reach us on Facebook, Not the Nerds Podcast. You'll find us there. Twitter and Instagram is just at Not the Nerds. If you want to email us, notthenerdspodcast@gmail.com. Yeah.
Yep. Again, shouts out to Lindsay over at Strange Fantasy Music. You can contact her at strangefantasymusic@gmail.com. And thanks again to Kevin Warren, our illustrator that did our podcast artwork. You can find him on Twitter at TheyCallMeKdub. So
yeah,
I think that's all we got. So I've been Kevin. That's
Lorenzo
been Lorenzo.
Over here. Yep.
And see you nerds next week.
Bye, everybody.